Hi guys, welcome back to Guildcast. I'm used to a ear mic. I am your host, Ruby Bear from ArenaNet's communication team, and back with us is design lead.
Mike Zadorozhny.
And game designer.
Byron Miller.
Byron, welcome for the very first time today.
Thank you.
So Byron has been doing work on adventures for Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns expansion, so we're going to talk a little bit about those today. I will let you two fight it out as to who gets to talk about what adventures are for our new players and what they do in Heart of Thorns, what they're for.
Well, adventures are sort of repeatable single player content where you have control over starting and stopping this content, so you can really aim to get your best high score. We've incorporated leaderboards into these things so that you have something you can compete against. You're fighting against like your friends list and your guild list, and so when you start your adventure, you're like, I don't know, let's say where you're trying to collect as many fallen spores as possible. You can go through, you can play as fast as you can, get your best score, find your thing, and then you can say, hey, you know, so-and-so in my guild, I'm way better than you at this, come at me. And then they can go and they can respond and have a little bit of a leaderboard chase. So it's single player content in the open world that you can see and interact with your friends as you're playing it, but you're really the master of your own destiny.
Nice. So we saw these a while back. Right there in Verdant Brink, we saw one of the first adventures that we've been working on. So if you've been around for a while, you've seen the one with the flamethrower and the tentacles?
Yeah, the tendril tortures in the Brink. And we also had a pit salvage one and a bugs in the branches. Those three were available in one of the beta weekends.
Yeah, those have come out in the beta weekend. So today we are going to show off two that you have never seen before, because Byron's been doing a lot.
Before we get into this, Byron.
Oh, no.
If I'm a brand new player and I'm coming into adventures, what kind of rewards am I looking at?
So there are two different reward structures that we have with the adventure system. There's a daily reward, and there's a bronze, a silver, and a gold tier. Like, so, for example, if there's a threshold and you need to collect 10 of these objects for silver and then 40 for gold, you can actually do that every day. You can earn experience, you can earn items from the map. And then there's also a lifetime leaderboard that's like, who's the best of all time in your friends list and your guild list, and from those you can get mastery points. There's some unique collections items that are part of our some broader reward structures that we've got going on. But there's really a lot that you can get out of these things every day, and then also those one-time, really sweet, really big, chunky rewards.
That sounds delicious.
It does sound delicious, doesn't it?
It does not. All right, so we are already in the first one. This one, I'm going to steal your thunder and say the title just because I like it so much. This is Byron's, and this one is called The Floor is Lava.
Actually, it's called The Floor is Lava with a question mark?
The floor is most assuredly lava.
It's most assuredly lava.
There's no doubt once I saw you fall in it.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the concept of this is, you know, I was thinking about when I started designing some of these things, like what did I love? Like, and I thought back to my childhood, which is when, you know, how you throw the pillows on the ground and you're like, I can jump there now, I'm safe. And then you break all your furniture and your parents get super mad at you. That was
just you.
That was just me. Nobody else ever did that. But this is sort of a similar thing where you're running around in this area that the floor is very dangerous, and you're kicking these fruit, and the fruit fly over on the ground, and then they explode, and where they explode, they leave a safe zone. And if you jump onto there and you grab the spores, the seeds, it launches you up in the air, and you can go to the next one. Here's a look at some of our leaderboard stuff. You can see your rewards right off the bat, and this is a run that I did. So this is a strategy that I think might be a really solid one, where you kick all the fruit into the center, and then you go collect them all.
Yeah,
and you'll
you
see
kick it and pick it up
running around and jumping and all that stuff. But it's sort of a mix of jumping puzzle and like action adventure, really. So you'll see these seeds are falling down in the ground. There's a spore that's left there. Using your glider to land on these mushrooms to make sure you don't fall into the lava. And then at a certain point in time, I'm pretty sure I mess up big time and I eat it into the lava here in a couple of seconds.
So one of the important things to look at this is, like, as Byron's going and doing this, if there are two players who are jumping through this at the same time, each person's going to have their own spores. It's not like I'm going to be competing against him directly in this. It's what we're competing against is our overall score that we get from our own individual attempt on this.
Right, it's not either you get this fruit or he gets it and then the thing's gone. You each have your own round.
Right.
In fact, you can see me running around in the video occasionally as I'm challenging him on this one.
So I've landed now in the safe zones, and I'm launching myself from point to point to try to collect them now. As you can see, my score in the top right corner is going up as the timer is counting down. I'm using gliding. I'm using some speed mushrooms that we saw earlier by the start point to give you that extra burst of speed. And then some jump mushrooms that are just like, if I've messed up and I'm in the lava and I really need to be out of the lava, I can hop on those things and fly out.
So if you fall in the lava, you're not just completely screwed. You can get out.
Yeah. Well, so the way that it works is that every second you're in the lava, you get this lava, the spores. You get this debuff on you that takes away 1% of your health, and it stacks up to 10 times. So if you stay in the lava for too long, you're gonna start losing a lot of health.
Yeah.
And I think right here is a really bad deal for me. Let's take a look.
I think this is when you started yelling, "Ow, my skin!"
Yeah, my skin. Remember, kids, don't be like me and mess up these jumps.
Be like Z, who is just off camera, I think, looking.
There it is. Oh, there, I got a stack of the debuffs, start taking some damage. And I decided at that point, my run was over. I hit the restart button, which is on the bar, all the way on the right. There's a little button that says, I want to cancel this adventure and start over. And you can do that really quickly, which is really nice, especially if you're trying that perfect run. And a lot of these have been sort of inspired by the games that I watched being speedrun. I watched the Awesome Games Done Quick and the Summer Games Done Quick. I follow a lot of speedrunners, and even the Guild Wars 2 community, you see on some of our social media things on Reddit, you see these videos of someone doing a jumping puzzle in like 15 seconds. And you're like, that guy's really good. I want to make something so that person has a challenge. And that's really a lot of what I got out of this and what I went into putting into design for it. So
here's my question. Who's better at this?
It's actually sort of painful for me to say that Z is better. I think maybe I'm too involved in the content, but really he smoked me when we played this together. Like he was like, "Hey, I got gold again," and I was like,
Yeah, I really just wanted to make you both relive that. So while we were recording this, the trash talk and gloating was epic, and it was super, super fun. So this could be you.
Yeah. Well, the wounds are still fresh, Z. I just want you to know that.
The thing I really enjoyed about, because like this was my first chance when we started filming this, was my first chance to really get into the adventures and kind of see what Byron had put together. And it's one of those things where it's very easy to get into. You can kind of see the mechanics, you can play with it a little bit, but it's really difficult to master. So it's not going to be like one of those 1 or 2 run things and you're like, oh, I'm done with this. It's like, no, there's actually a serious amount of challenge. And the thing that I really enjoyed was it was very easy to understand what the objective was and what I needed to do. And so it was, like I said, it was really quick to pick up. And then when the trash talk started coming my way, I was like, okay, let's see what's going on with this.
They were both laughing. There wasn't like a fist fight in the green room or anything. It was all good. But yeah, I mean, I've gone through once or twice just to see what it was all about. It's very easy to understand, figure out exactly what you need to do. I appreciated your trick of kick all the fruit down and then go get them, not just kick and jump and come back up, because it's an enormous time waster. But there's a learning curve. There's a real learning curve there.
But it also comes into, like, there's a bunch of different strategies, and this is what I really like about it is it's not like, okay, this is the one mechanic, and this is how we're going to do it, and everybody just needs to practice that one thing. There's, like, even looking at which mushrooms or which spores you were kicking off and the order that you're going to changes everything dynamically. So maybe you kick off 3 and then go down, or maybe you kick off 4 and then go down. Like, there's going to be a lot of kind of experimentation and trying to figure out what the ideal way to go through this is going to be.
And we really strove to also level the playing field. We do this with a lot of our competitive stuff in our game. Like, for example, PvP, you sort of enter that and you're at a certain level that's on par with everyone else. You have access to all your skills and all those things. In this case, we've actually standardized everybody's health. We've standardized their skill bar, so no one's using their player skills. When you start these adventures, any friendly things that have been put on you by other players are removed. So you really have to. You're in it for yourself, right? And you're on the same level as anybody else. So when I say, hey Mike, I got a better score than you, he knows that he has the same tools in his toolkit to go back and beat my score if he can, which I don't think he can.
So, oh my gosh. So there is no. Well, that's because you had A, B, and C buff. It's
correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Completely legitimate win. All right. I like this one. I need to get better at it at some point in the future in my free time. But we have another one that we want to show off too, and I love this one. This one is Masks of the Fallen, and Byron, go.
This is actually a part of a map that nobody's seen before, right? So this is a
World
funerary place for. I'm sorry.
It's a world premiere.
World premiere here. It's a funerary chamber for the Exalted, and really. it's a sort of a sacred place. And what happens is these exalted spirits, they became agitated at the knowingness of them having passed away. And so
well,
what you're doing,
there is a limited number of these
right,
exalted.
Exactly. And so with the passing death of every exalted, their numbers grow fewer, and their duty becomes more stronger and more important to them. And so in this case, you're jumping around and you're actually soothing the masks. They're becoming agitated, and you're saying, be cool. It's that burden. And one of the sort of cool things about this is how the masteries sort of play into each one of these adventures. I mean, there are a lot of adventures that require no mastery to be able to participate and be competitive in, but some of these masteries are incredibly useful. Like, for example, in this one, jumping mushrooms is very important. You can get a bronze level, and maybe if you're really good, a silver level without the mushrooms, but they're going to make your life a lot easier. And when you start getting up to those competitive tiers, the masteries actually come into play. It's like, this is the tool set now that I know I need to use and I know I need to master, hence the name, in order to get the high score, and in order to really to either get the rewards or really to be competitive in that scene. Yeah. So this is part of a golden place, a golden cave, and there's actually quite a bit of fun stuff in the area to sort of discover, as well as just seeing the place for what it is. It's really quite a wonderful space, and I hear the audio team is gonna do some cool stuff with this. They've really been on board with making these spaces these unique places to play.
Okay, so this doesn't surprise me in the least because our audio team is incredible.
Oh my God, right?
Right? I do want to hear what they have to do later on.
Yeah.
All right, so this, again, is kind of a game of skill and, I almost said mastery. Learning and skill, and just repeating it to find out what works for you, but I feel like it's not going to feel grindy, it's still a good time.
Yeah, you can pick it up and you can play it. You can spend, I remember from one of our beta weekends, someone posted on our forum saying, I played this 157 times in a row. I think this is the perfect run that I've been able to do. And then someone was like, 2 minutes later, was like, no, I got a better score. You can see it on the leaderboard. And that's like the conversation that I'm really excited to see is like, I spent a lot of time doing this. I got what I think is perfect. Someone else can say, maybe you should try tweaking this run. Maybe you should get this bug instead of that bug first. And maybe that shaves 2 seconds off the world's high score, or the high score in your guild and your friends list.
So I'm seeing something else, these blue markers.
Yeah. So the blue markers is also part of the mastery. Thanks for that segue, Mike. They're an exalted marking,
That's what I'm here
right?
for.
So it's part of the mastery track is actually being able to see important objects through the walls. You can see, in this case, because I have the mastery unlocked, it's much easier for me to see where my next goal is.
Yeah.
Whereas if I didn't have the mastery, all I would see is the icon on the mini-map, which you can also see in this case.
And
so
you can see it when you get closer,
Yeah.
but not through things if you don't have the mastery.
Right, and that's it sort of unlocks that third dimension, and it really is a very interesting way of providing you with an advantage that's sort of not really an advantage, but it's helpful. It doesn't make you better at the game, but it definitely provides you more information.
Right, and it helps you as you're going through and learning and improving your skill on this because you have good tools to work with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
you'll notice that also one of the things that even just the play space does is we're definitely playing a lot more with the verticality than we did in old World Tyria. So this is like much more about like having that vertical space, using things like gliding and being able to force players to kind of think in a third dimension that we haven't necessarily played nearly as much with in the past.
yeah, and that takes it a lot higher and a lot more. It gives you more to do.
Yeah, and one of the questions that came up a lot when I was testing this and when I was running this by other people is, it seems random to me. Doesn't that make the high score system like sort of meaningless if the content is random? And it's actually not truly random. There's a series of patterns that actually are executed every time you play this, so that you have in your mind, if you've really mastered the content, you know what to expect within a set every time you interact with one of these gadgets. So, and I said this in the blog post, which is really important. If it seems random, really spend some time with the content. It's not.
Nice. All right, so something we talked earlier about the Tendril Tortures event.
Yeah.
Something that you had explained to me before was that it starts out really, really simple. I mean, I know a lot of people were like, okay, this is just taking this flamethrower and hitting some things. You don't really have to do much. You don't have to learn much. It gets more complicated as you get deeper into the jungle.
Yeah. So the first set, like in the first area in the brink, There are a couple of adventures that are really sort of straightforward. They want to give you an idea of like introduction to the leaderboards, right, and how they function, and introduction to the UI in the top right corner that says like, this is what your objective is, this is what you're doing, and getting players used to that is really important. But then as you get further into the jungle, some of these adventures, they become a little bit more complex. You're asked to think about more things. You're asked to make more split-second decisions. And as you go deeper and deeper, you start seeing some of these more difficult or more masterful adventures. And there are some of them that I am not very good at, and I know that I want to be way better, but it's practice. I got to put a lot of time into that. But I mean, I want those rewards. I'm going to do it.
They are pretty sweet.
And then I'm also going to email Mike on my ArenaNet email address and say, look at the leaderboard, my friend.
I'm amazed that you're just emailing him and not like calling him over to your desk. Hey, come here. It's really important. Come here.
Can you see what this says right here? I think it says I'm above you. I don't know. My eyes aren't good.
You are so patient and kind. You are really, really nice.
No, I mean, ultimately, I'm just really excited because I think this is a style of content that we've done a little bit with, we've explored with, but this is really allowing us to kind of push deeper in and allow some of the more competitive aspects to kind of come back into the PvE environment that we haven't necessarily taken advantage of in the past. And like this is just one of the stepping stones that allows us to go even further where we want to go.
Well, and we're going to talk about maps later on in a later Guild Chat show. But that's, like you were talking about, it gives us a way to take advantage of the verticality. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, I'm not going to make you tell more secrets, but do you feel like you took advantage of that as we go farther than this?
There are a big selling point and a big thing that I think I enjoy a lot, having worked on things like this in the past with jumping puzzles and stuff like that, is an examination of 3D space as a tool and as a game objective. And I think that we have actually some adventurized jumping puzzles that you can actually do outside of the adventure itself and really sort of get a feel for what it feels like to go through, to see the space, to see all the nooks and crannies, to really experience the jumping puzzle. But then when it comes down to putting your money where your mouth is, you have a system that allows you to easily and quickly determine your progress and how you're interacting with those spaces. I think that we have some, like in this one, this is probably my favorite example of the 3D space, but even the floor is lava one, which is launching you up in the air, you're deploying your glider, you're using that tool, you're using that space differently. I think we've done a lot of that further and deeper into the jungle.
Yeah. All right, so when we were going through the Masks of the Fallen, when we were recording all of this was actually really, really fun. There were a couple of places where you had a lot of trouble. It was one of you had a lot of trouble getting there. You were like, okay, show me how you did that. You had to jump up, glide down, then jump up a different spot.
So the jumping mushrooms, they put you in very specific locations, but those locations aren't necessarily always prime for what you want.
Right.
But you can, for example, cancel the jump mushroom into your glider at the peak of that arc. So if you really don't want to waste those 2 extra seconds falling down to the area you're going to, you can deploy your glider, turn around, go back towards the direction you want to go, and then undeploy, drop down, parachute in, and really get that feel of
Advanced tactics right there.
Advanced tactics with Byron Miller.
Exactly. I like it.
Yeah,
we need to
that
keep
was
doing
the thing
this.
that when I was first playing this with Byron, like it was some of the times it was learning where the mushrooms were taking you weren't always necessarily the best place that you wanted to be to try and go get some of those masks. And so sometimes they will jump you up 1 tier, maybe they'll jump you up 2 tiers, and trying to figure out which one was going where. Like there was one particular mask that I kept running into going, how do I get this thing? I don't understand. But that forced the discussion of, okay, now I understand more specifically where he was going with the objectives. Yeah. And that becomes that's the kind of conversation that we want players to be having, because it just opens up the door in terms of the possibilities of what you can do.
Yeah, it's more of a convoluted path. It's not just go from point A to point B to point C and you're there.
Yeah.
You need to figure this out. It's more of a puzzle, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why when we were talking about how random the thing was, is that when you know that there's going to be one of X choices, let's for example say, you can say then, I need to prepare every time I get to one of these locations. I need to know in my mind which 3 jumping mushrooms are going to get me to the next place. It could be one of those 3, but I should know ahead of time where I'm going to be headed so that I can quickly make the decision, quickly see what I need to do, and get on that path to get that high score.
All right, so that's new information to me. I didn't know the pattern changed.
The pattern changes, well, like I said, it's especially in the Masks of the Fallen, every mask has a set of masks that it could potentially activate. The number's not big, but it is big enough that you have to consider it when you're making your decision when you click on it. So like when you say I've soothed this mask, be cool, you're cool now.
It's all right.
And
you
then
don't actually have to do that.
You actually probably have to do that.
No.
And so once you've done that, you know now it's going to be one of three. I need to either make a left, I need to go forward, or I need to go right. And then you look at your mini map, or you look at the icon that you see, and you're like, all right, it's the right one. Let's go.
All right, so I really enjoyed the story. I like the story behind the Masters of the Fallen. How many teams did you have to work with to get the puzzle and the lore and everything to mesh?
Yeah.
Because it's working really well. And was it a one-man show?
Who didn't you work with?
Who didn't you work with? All right.
I don't think there's a single person who I didn't work with, or a single department for that matter that I didn't work with. I mean, the resources that we asked. I mean, even up front, the art resources that we have, working with the different map artists and really nailing down what the play space is going to be, and then saying, what can we do with this play space? And then going and saying, like, I need some props for this. Go to a prop artist and say, hey, listen, what are your ideas for what we can put in here? And they're like, I got this great thing we can use. And then I ran into an audio guy, and I was like, listen, this space that we've created is really magical, and it's got this specific theme. What can you do with that? And they're like, well, yeah, we can make it quiet, we can make it serene, really make it sort of haunting. And then, going to programming and saying, like, I need leaderboards. How are we going to do this? And they're like, we got your back.
And then they hit you.
Yeah, and then, well, I mean, no, we don't talk about that on the air. But really, like, the support that all of these teams provided for this content has been amazing. And I'm really actually sort of thrilled that it's coming together as well as it is, because so many people had their hands in this, and it's been really cool.
Yeah, the more pieces, the more complicated and kind of scary it gets.
Yeah, trying to keep it all inside your head is a tough thing.
Yeah, seriously. So how long have you been working on this?
I have been working on this since right after we shipped New Lion's Arch, because I was part of that team, and then I rolled on to doing
Adventures.
My gosh.
Gosh.
Was that May? No, it was earlier in May.
Yeah.
It has been a very long summer. It feels like about 17 years to me.
that wasn't part of the trivia question earlier,
really?
so I don't know.
Okay, good. Don't ask me that later. I don't know the answer to that one, so.
It is now a trivia question. Congratulations.
Great.
What else you got?
Oh, man.
All right, so do you want to give us a hint to another adventure, or do you want to let us wonder?
Let's see.
Because I know you gave us your two favorite already.
My two favorite. There's one that involves a char motorcycle and ramping over explosions in flames.
Why didn't you show me that?
Well, reasons. Let's keep it. We're still polishing. We're still polishing some things. That one's really fun. There's one where you go into it. There's actually some adventures are instanced, because if you have combat, we want you to not have to compete with your friends for spawns. So there are a couple that are instants. One of them is where you get a utility gun, and you're just shooting a million bugs, like as many bugs as you can kill in a minute. Let's do it. And then there's one where you're a robot and you're punching bugs. So I mean, there are a couple that you're just like. Let's kick it up to 11. Let's punch 250.
Wait, it sounds like you said a robot punching bugs, but that can't be right.
Yeah, that is correct. You heard me correctly. There's one where you turn into a robot and you punch insects.
Do you have something against bugs?
I personally don't. The player character may, depending on how well or you do against certain enemies.
I like robot punching bugs because this only could have come out of your head. Am I wrong?
No, you're definitely not. Let's see. There are a couple of jumping puzzles that are really exciting. We do a lot of things with very simple transforms and some skills that really provide a difference in some movement and some abilities. A lot of jumping puzzles that are short, but you have to really be able to execute to get them in the time you need to do them. I'm really looking forward to those ones. The jumping puzzle ones are really in my heart.
All right, so you know what, speaking of jumping puzzles, this is a concern that you and I had talked about before, and I know some players probably have that. With the mushrooms in Floor's Lava, see?
There you go. You did it right.
I can't. So what if you have like a gigantic char with angel wings and with like the white or black wings and a little Asura in there?
So we've run into that problem in the past. We've done some things with the Halloween jumping puzzle where we made those adjustments. In this case, we've stayed away from that. In some situations, we have some that are transforms where you're all on the same page. But we really think that in this case, when you're out in the open world and you're participating in this content alongside other people, we really want you to see your character. We want you to see the progress that you've earned towards either your glider skins or those things. And really, what it comes down to is you'll still be able to participate very well, regardless of the size or shape of your character.
Yeah. The mushrooms look fairly good size. There's enough room for some people.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so I think we know what your two favorites are. Have we seen your favorite yet?
Well, I really did enjoy the floor is lava. That
one's so cool.
Just because you beat me. That's the only reason you liked it.
Oh my
Maybe.
gosh.
But no, also like the chart motorcycle one is pretty top notch.
Can you tell me more about this after the camera's off? Because I am fascinated.
Hey, we have to save something for live. Like,
Yeah.
I work here. I'm going to want to see that. All right.
you
Thank
can
guys.
just wait 4 more weeks and then you can try it with everybody else. Because Heart of Thorns is almost on their doorstep.
Stunned silence.
I'm just mad now. I'm going to go play it just to spite you. All right. Thank you guys very much, and we will see you back in a few minutes. We're going to go back into masteries a little bit deeper very soon.
Yeah.
And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in game.
See you on the next Guild Chat.